listen to your body. Your body wants to heal, and if you give it the right situation, it will heal. The world isn't always what it seems, and we need to stick with our holistic medicines and don't let go of herbs and natural wellness supplements that governments are trying to ban. If they're trying to ban it, it probably means we really need it because it really works.
Welcome to A Magical Life, Health, Wealth and Weight Loss. I'm your host, Magic Barclay, lead practitioner at Holistic Natural Health Australia and #1 best-selling author. In this podcast, I aim to give you practical tips on how to accelerate and sustain your health, increase your financial, spiritual and emotional wealth, and to look at something that haunts many of us needlessly, weight loss. Now, sit back and enjoy, because it is time for you to create and truly discover a magical life. Welcome back to A Magical Life. I'm your host, Magic Barclay, and today I'm joined by Terri Yuzon, who is the CEO and founder of Hemplily. Terri had fibromyalgia and refused to believe taking prescriptions for the rest of her life was the only answer. One of the body's main jobs is to heal itself. Along her journey to restore her health, she discovered that cannabis was the answer for so many with chronic illness. She left corporate, and Hemplily was created to share this knowledge with others. Her wellness brand focuses on helping women with symptoms of hormone imbalance from menstruation to menopause and more. Welcome, Terri.
Hi, Magic. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Now, let's get straight into it. I ask all my guests the same 3 questions. Everyone gives me different answers, which I find so fascinating. So your first one, what can your expertise do to accelerate health, not just physical, but also emotional and spiritual health?
Okay. Well, I believe that we know our bodies more than anyone, and even more than our doctors often. For far too long, we've depended on them to tell us what we need and what we have and how to get better, and it just isn't true. So we have to learn to look within ourselves, pay attention to how we feel, after we eat, after we consume anything, where we go, the environment. We have to get good at paying attention to our own bodies and self-diagnosing in many cases and learning to go herbal. God gave us everything we need to feel better. And I'm here to spread that word with the cannabis plant.
And we'll talk more about the cannabis plant soon. But I just wanted to touch on the broad spectrum of cannabis. We know there's CBD, there's THC, and laws differ no matter where you are in the world. I know it's fairly strict here in Australia. But we also know that hemp plants are very low wastage, very good for the environment. They take very little water. They're fire resistant. They can be used for building materials after medicine has been made from the part of the plant that you use. What else do you find with the hemp plant that is misunderstood?
Well, it's the difference between hemp and marijuana, but on the hemp side, regarding what you were saying and all the wonderful uses it can have, we're still not there. I'm not sure exactly what's holding things up as far as using hemp more in building materials. Like you said, it's fire retardant and automobiles even, and clothing, and the uses for it are endless. And that's one reason why it was prohibited many, many years ago. Propaganda said that it was bad, and really these large agencies just didn't want this amazing plant competing with things.
Okay, so we also talk about wealth here, and people think wealth is just financial, but it can also be personal and emotional wealth. What are your top 3 tips to creating wealth?
Trying to stay out of debt, eating naturally, organic, staying away from processed foods, and making sure to save for the future and save for the unexpected. So 2 financials and a health in the middle there.
Just on the financials, I've got something in our show notes here, and I really do want to quickly dive into this without going off on too big a tangent. You mentioned getting out of and avoiding debt, and that it's a form of slavery. Can you just quickly explain why? Because people, these days have their credit cards and what have you, and they think everything will be fine.
Yeah, well, they didn't teach us to stay out of debt. They pretty much taught us that debt is normal, that you should have it. The price of homes, the price of cars. It used to be affordable with just a one person's income, and it's not anymore. So I think there's a lot behind it, a lot, but they don't teach us that debt is slavery. And you can get out of it. It just takes discipline to do it. My husband and I currently just joined the Dave Ramsey plan recently. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. It's called Financial Peace University, and you take baby steps to becoming a millionaire, and anyone can do it. But he teaches us that debt is not good. We don't really need a credit score. People are like, well, what do you do about your credit score? Your credit score will go down if you don't have debt and carry debt. Well, you don't need a credit score if you don't need debt. So you gotta get cash and stop getting in that vicious cycle. We're still in it. We're not out ourselves, but we see things a lot more clearly now and are working towards getting out of debt because they can control you. If they've given you debt, if they've given you a loan, basically you're just at their every whim. I was concerned when COVID and they started handing out the EIDL loans. And I took one for my business as well, needed it during, tough times. But it's scary because now they own you, they own your business. So you want to avoid that at all costs if it can be helped. Always pay with cash if it can be helped.
And I think the same goes for health, and we'll talk more about this soon. But stepping out of the big pharma world and really looking at what plants can give you. And, it's something that I love with cannabis and with hemp, that there's just so much it can offer.
Yes, it can do a lot more and we're still just discovering it. So there's a lot more to come. It can clean the soil, clean the air. The fact that it cleans the soil so well, it's used in crop rotations to clean up soil. But then we have to test the plant. You want your plant tested before consumption to make sure you don't have heavy metals and toxins and things that it's sucked out of the earth. So it's a very complex plant. We're still learning. And the landscape is evolving every day with what we learn about it. And everybody's trying to create something new and different. It's quite a ride. It's exciting.
Brilliant. And our final standard question before we get to the juicy stuff, and that is about weight. Have you ever battled your weight? If so, how did you win the war? And if not, what can you offer the listeners around their weight journey, particularly around stress, because we know stress has so much to do with it?
Yep, I was going to talk about that anyways. So I've been fortunate to come from good genes. We're generally on the thin side. I was very thin, ridiculed thin when I was in junior high, high school. But I'm 51 now, premenopausal, and definitely have gained quite a bit of weight. So it's just learning about it. I'm still okay with it. I've had to get all new clothes. I'm not going on a massive diet. I think going gently, just eating right, walking. It depends on, your age and your situation. But you mentioned stress. Stress is caused by cortisol, and we experience that in menopause, in and around menopause, which I've experienced, and that causes belly fat. So fun times, so I am getting to experience that a little bit now. And it's generally caused by cortisol spikes because in menopause, estrogen wanes and goes away, and cortisol tends to take over, which gives us our stress and anxiety and hot flashes and night sweats. And that's where my product comes in for a lot of people, because customers were coming into our store for over the last 5 years saying, I don't have hot flashes anymore, and my night sweats are gone when I'm taking your product. So I found that very curious and looked into what the connection was and found it. So I've been leaning in on helping women with women's issues like hormone imbalance.
Terrific. Let's get into the juicy stuff, Terri. So many people worldwide see CBD as, I guess, the demon. They see it as, well, that's untested, untried. Maybe it's illegal. Why should I do it? I can just take a pill for something else. Let's explore the benefits of CBD. So we know that it's great for hormones. We know that it's great for pain. We know that it's great for anxiety and stress. How can one thing be so good for so many things?
Yes, and that's why a lot of people don't believe it, because it sounds like snake oil, right? So the science of CBD and cannabinoids is they interact with our endocannabinoid system, and that is a master system regulator. All our bodies have it, even pets and most living things have an endocannabinoid system. It's a master system regulator over our immune system, our endocrine system, which is hormones, etc. And it seeks to create balance and homeostasis in your body. So that means telling your pain receptors to stop overreacting, tells you to calm down, it tells you to sleep well, all of these things. It seeks out what is out of balance, and everybody's need is different, and it tries to bring that into balance. So because it is the body's master system regulator, it can do all these things. But everyone is different again. And sometimes it takes a different product, takes some guidance, maybe from somebody who knows more about the plant to make sure you get the relief you need. But yeah, some people say it's a panacea, and it's not exactly. And some people say it's horrible, and it definitely isn't that either.
So regulations worldwide are very, very different. Here in Australia, it can be quite strict about using CBD. Certainly THC, there's a blanket restriction. And even hemp products, there's quite restrictive methods enforced on the distribution, the sale, the use. We know that obviously there's the reasons that we've discussed that they don't want us using these products. But what we don't know is how can we get these products and be assured of their quality? I know you and I were talking off air a little earlier, and I mentioned I've tried CBD here in Australia, and there was no hemp oil, there was no CBD, there was nothing. It was like a bottle of olive oil with a weird taste. So how can you find the right, I guess, product to use? And obviously Hemplily is a place to go. How can you be assured that what you're getting in the bottle is the real deal?
That is a great question. For the most part, I believe that it is what people are saying it is, but there are bad players out there for sure. You want to look for certificates of analysis, meaning they're third-party lab tested to make sure it doesn't have the toxins in it and such, and make sure it has CBD in it and little to no THC for it to be considered legal hemp here in the US. Primarily, you want to just go by referral. Who's tried a product and got good benefit from it? That's the best way to get a good product, is from a referral. But if you want to know the science in it, before you buy something, say you want to buy something online, every brand should be transparent and offer you the lab reports. That's not to say lab reports can't be altered. They can. So there isn't a 100% foolproof way. So I think that's one reason why a lot of people have tried hemp and CBD products and didn't get any benefits and think, oh, it's snake oil. They may not have had a quality brand. Sometimes one brand works better than the other. Sometimes I have to, experiment with that. But that's the basics of it. We're working on things to make sure that labs can't be altered. Hemplily is one of the first to be credible verified. The website is QREDIBLE.com. And it's a website for cannabis brands to prove quality and transparency. And it uses blockchain technology in various aspects, and labs will be uploaded straight from the laboratory, straight to the credible platform. So there's no chance, you're assured that there's no alterations going on in a lab report. Now, let's say that was all done and everybody's uploading their labs. Well, guess what? All the labs work differently, and they use different testing methods and have different, I don't know about thresholds. The law is the law, but if you send a product to 3 different labs, you're likely going to get 3 different results. And the plant changes over time, and your sample that you're sending ages and changes. The cannabinoids in it change over time. So many variables to this plant. It's very amazing, but it's very complex at the same time. So there isn't 100% sure way, but you do want to look for somebody you trust based on referrals and make sure they have third-party lab tests that you can view to see what's in it.
Great advice there. I think many people are scared of CBD because they don't know what it does. Now, having said that, we never know what any supplement, any medication, any substance can be capable of, because everybody is different. So we need to put that out there. But you mentioned the receptors and, that's all great, but how does it work? Like, what is the science behind CBD? People will often be thinking, how can it be the cure-all that other people say it is? We have these receptors in our brain and we have our endocannabinoid system. But I think people kind of discount how powerful that is.
It is very powerful, but again, it's kind of complicated. I mean, do people ask your doctor, what is the science behind this prescription? We don't. It comes down to trust. So, yeah, it's a trust thing, because there isn't a surefire way to know exactly what you're taking and such. And CBD and the hemp plant and cannabis overall is generally very safe. And yes, any plant can be abused. You can get too much. Not so much on the CBD side. It just makes you sleepy if you get too much. But THC obviously can be very, very much abused. But do you know what's in your food at the grocery store? I mean, there's a list of ingredients, but you just trust that what it says on the label there is what's in it, and you buy it and you don't question it. There's a lot of stigma and just, I think, regulations that we need for people to start trusting in the plant more, and education. But it's a complicated plant and most people don't really want to fully understand. So it just comes back to trust.
Great. Now, Hemplily focus on women's health problems and ailments. Tell us more about how your products help with hormone imbalances.
So yeah, I explained earlier how our endocannabinoid system is like the umbrella system over our endocrine system, which is our hormones. So it seeks to balance out any hormones that are out of balance, but it primarily keeps cortisol in check. It can help you out during your periods, PMS, keeps you calm and balanced, gets rid of crazy lady then, gets rid of stress and anxiety, even if you're not on your period and you're not menopausal. It's good for men too. It's good for pets. But we just hone in on women's issues and being an alternative, a safe alternative. It's not good to take a ton of Tylenol or Advil. It's not good for your liver. So this is an alternative for that, and applied topically can give relief in 60 seconds or less. So that's good too. You don't have to wait an hour for your Advil to kick in. And on the menopause side, I felt passionate about that because that's where I'm at, and my customers were telling me about it, and not many people were realizing exactly the effect, because science is still new, but the effect that the endocannabinoid system has on our hormones. So we're just leaning in and trying to lead the way on that.
You mentioned cortisol, and I know, many practitioners out there tell their clients you've got cortisol excess. And many people do this without doing a Dutch test, which is really only what can tell you where your cortisol's at. I know in my practice, I've come across many people that have got flatline cortisol, like there's just none even registering. So can your products help with both the cortisol excess and the cortisol lack?
I believe so, because that's how the endocannabinoid system works. If you're lacking, it lifts it. If you've got too much, it balances out. It's about balance. So yes, it's not going to work just one direction.
And you mentioned it's also good for men. I just wanted to reiterate here to the listeners, they've heard me say it before, that menopause is really adrenopause. And guys, you get it too. It's called andropause, but it's really adrenopause. So it's when the hormones are no longer going from the brain ovary or brain gonads axis. They start going and being made from the brain adrenal axis, so the HPA axis. And so we're looking for extended adrenal health. Once the adrenals are no longer exhausted, can your products help stabilize them and just keep them regulated?
I would imagine. There's no science on that yet. Almost everything we talk about right now is anecdotal. I mean, you can search for studies even on NIH.gov here in the US and such and see a lot of studies, but really we're still in the anecdotal phase, and we generally understand how it works, but not down to that detailed scientific method. But I believe it would help in those situations.
Brilliant. I have loved our chat today. We've covered so much. Is there something that the listeners need to hear that we haven't talked about?
I hope you have access to try the CBD product. Doesn't have to be Hemplily. We only ship within the US. Try it if you are able to get it. Find somebody near you who is educated on the plant. A lot of people feel better in one serving, and within seconds to minutes. It can be that amazing and life-changing for some people, and other people either just don't have a cannabinoid deficiency or they need to change. The when, the how much, and the how often needs to be experimented with to get the best benefit out of the plant. If anyone wants to call me at Hemplily, they can. I always encourage people, even if you have a hemp product already, maybe you have one on the shelf that you've tried and it didn't help. Give me a call. I'll try to find out what's in it. There aren't really regulations around labeling, so it can be hard to tell just looking at the label, but I'm pretty good at it. And usually I can get people to adjust and get benefits with the product they do have. Or I might tell you that one's just garbage, but I'm willing to answer questions that anyone has. As long as it's product and hemp related, I can't talk about medical issues. We are members of leaf411.org, which is a cannabis nurse network out of Colorado, and they have cannabis trained nurses who can talk about medical situations, prescriptions, things like that. So we refer people over to them. They have to call us first to get a code, and then they can go to the nurses at Leaf 411 and get a free consultation if they want to talk specifically about their medical situation.
Fantastic. And that leads us into our freebies. We love freebies here on A Magical Life, Health, Wealth, and Weight Loss. And you popped one in your show notes, and I'm just going to let people know for US customers only. If you contact Terri, and we'll tell you how to do that in a minute, you can get a discount code for 25% off your entire order. But you must mention AML, A Magical Life. So Terri will know, and she'll get you that discount code. Now, people can find you on Facebook at Hemplily and on Instagram at Hemplily Helps. What can they find on these social media accounts? Is there tips, tricks, tools? What else is there?
All of that. We can't really sell product online, so it's going to be mostly education-based. They'll close down accounts on Instagram and Facebook if you're trying to sell. So education primarily around the hemp plant, about just holistic, natural wellness. And we have a group if you want to join and talk with other people in the group about what they've tried with Hemplily, etc. We used to have a trial where I gave women a free bottle in exchange for their tracking their menopause symptoms. And that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to see how much better people were feeling with it. And they're in the group too. So if somebody's just looking for a menopause related group, that is there. But again, our products aren't just for menopause, pain, anxiety, good for men as well.
Fantastic. Terri, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a great conversation. I know we've had to be a little bit careful about what we say, but definitely, this is a great product. It's a great healing tool. And listeners, reach out to Terri. Don't forget to mention AML, A Magical Life. For US customers, for people worldwide, get in touch on Facebook and Instagram. And Terri, some parting words for the listeners.
Oh, let's see here. Listen to your heart. Like I mentioned at the beginning, listen to your body. Your body wants to heal, and if you give it the right situation, it will heal. The world isn't always what it seems, and we need to stick with our holistic medicines and don't let go of herbs and natural wellness supplements that governments are trying to ban. If they're trying to ban it, it probably means we really need it because it really works.
Some great parting words there. Listeners, thank you so much for your time. Go out and listen to your body, listen to your heart, and use natural products wherever possible. And for now, go forth and create your magical life. Thanks for listening today. Please subscribe to hear future episodes, leave a review, and share this podcast. Drop us a line at A Magical Life Podcast on Facebook and let me know what you would like to know more about. You can find us on Instagram at Holistic Natural Health, that's holistic with a W, or at www.holisticnaturalhealth.com.au. That's where you'll access all sorts of articles, freebies, and more.